Oops, my mic was muted, but there we go. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Greetings. Welcome to Global Hack Week. If you have not yet gotten the chance to check into part 2 of our event, make sure you go ahead and do that over in GHW.mle.io. I'm also going to go ahead and make sure that I am have modified the time so you can join in after we're starting on a slight delay and about halfway through. But the cool part is that generally we've got, the still full 2 hours planned to get as much done as we can. So hello, everybody. Hi, greetings. Lovely to see you. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening. It's very morning for me. I'm a little sleepy still, but got a slight delay because I had to take care of my dog and do some other things. But and then still am super duper sleepy. But hopefully, we'll have a nice little Global Hack Week where we rest and rejuvenate and get hype. So I think it's gonna be really fun. I think we can just go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to go ahead and set up in here a couple of things, make this a little bit bigger, and then we'll go ahead and go to our GitHub. So beautiful. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here really quickly. And we'll talk about some of the things that we did yesterday and then dive into maybe potentially some of our plans for today. So hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to my lovely little GitHub. So this is, of course, my personal GitHub. We have my beautiful little text here that we've added from the typing SVG. Hello. And then we've got stats, right, that we've added from the GitHub stat cards, and then the GitHub trophies. And then that is pretty much it. So you can see those. Let me double check. Here, it's not showing the... I've just gone access and broken and things like that. But hello, everybody else, for those of you who are looking to join in. Ooh, let me put the music back on before I forget. I'm gonna go ahead and go in here, pop the music back on. I usually keep the music on in the background, pretty low and quiet, so you can still kind of hear over me. But feel free. Good morning, good evening, good whatever time of day it is for everybody. Like I just mentioned, I'm still getting over being a little sleepy. And now I'm just realizing I put my water bottle down somewhere and I don't know where it is. All right. Give me about 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Your GitHub is insane. I got to rewatch the stream on YouTube now. Oh, thank you. Well, luckily for you, what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time on a new GitHub account today, going over and making some of these lovely resources. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to my little sample account. So this is, of course, me from a third-party perspective, right? This is my personal GitHub from somebody else's view, right? And then you can kind of see what that looks like here. And then go through my open source contribution from yesterday too, which was really fun. And generally very exciting. And then also show some of the things that I've done, previous Global Hack Week streams, so on and so forth. But I also made a little sample account here. And right, so this is my sample account to kind of show you how to start over from the very beginning. I am going to really quickly need to go run and get water. It's going to take me hopefully less than a minute. And then I'll be right back, because otherwise I'm going to sound like this for all of the stream and it's going to be really awful. So I'll be right back. And there we go. Yeah, I just left it on the kitchen counter, so it was a pretty quick trip there and back. But hello, everybody. Awesome. So what I want to kind of go ahead and do today is instead show off some of the other things that we could do with a blank GitHub, how to sort of organize some of the resources, how to get started, and then also, like I mentioned, talk a little bit about with my kind of primary GitHub here, which you are more than welcome to take a look at. Right, give me a follow or star, whatever else you happen to want to. Right, you can kind of go ahead and see that in there. Good evening, everybody, or good morning or good afternoon. Give me a couple seconds I want to modify our login link so that we can take a look at one more thing. Hopefully it posted my login link. I don't know if it did. Alrighty, well, that's okay. Not a huge deal if we can't do it. We'll just have to make sure that everybody gets checked in within this first hour or so. But I think that should be pretty good to go. What we're going to do next, can you drop the GitHub link in the chat, please? Absolutely. Let me just really quickly also go ahead and modify the check-in times while I'm already here. Since it sent me two check-in emails at the same time, that's fine. I want to make sure that everybody who comes in will be able to log in. So I'm going to invalid. Let's not do. And I got a two-factor authenticate real quick. So give me just a minute and then I'll post that GitHub link in the chat. I just have 3 or 4 tabs open. So I'm also going to go to settings. Now we're going to go and extend this out. Perfect. Update it. Sweet. And now everybody should be good to go there. And then, beautiful. Hello. can I drop the GitHub link in the chat? Of course. So first we're going to drop our main GitHub for those of you who are interested. And then our second one's going to be kind of our main work in progress today. Right? So let me grab my little work in progress account here. And you can take a look at both of these. So, if you don't have a robust portfolio with multiple years of experience, like myself, from a long time ago for whatever reason, right? What we can go ahead, why thank you, I'm honored. What we can go ahead and do is kind of walk through what I would do to get started here, right? Kind of recommendations for what I would do to kind of, supercharge your GitHub profile. And then we'll kind of apply some of those recommendations to a profile like mine. And then once again, to a less intense profile as well. Take a look at, not necessarily intense, but, a newer hacker, a newer coach, a newer member of the community, whatever else have you. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and make this tab again a little bit smaller. But what I think I want to do is talk a little bit about, this, and different people have different approaches to this part. This is the readme.markdown file that you can find in your GitHub. If you have not yet gotten a chance to figure out how to do this or how to create this file, if you create a new repository and name it the same thing as your username, right? Then you'll get this nice little message here that shows up. It tells you, right, it's a special repository. It's README will appear on your public profile. And so when you match, right, this lovely README with also your main profile page, right, these two are the exact same resource. So the frequent questions I've gotten asked about so far, I have the two libraries that I have in here are the typing SVG and the GitHub stats. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to go to this lovely little account, a lovely little Kari MLH account. Actually, no, not yet. Changing my mind. But what we're going to do here is we'll talk a little bit about these pinned repos. We'll talk a little bit about this lovely contribution graph and the contribution activity, and then also some repositories, so on and so forth. And we'll kind of take a look at things from that second account when we need to. Still a little sleepy. Let me get some water. Perfect. I think we're ready. All right. So what do we got in here? Pinned repositories. This is where you can customize up to 6 repositories, right? Which have to be public, that you would like to show off to anybody. So these can be anything and everything that you've worked on from, for example, if you've ever had a soft and open source contribution of some sort, right? Like this is one that I just worked on. You can also see it has a lot of old projects, some of which are private, some of which are public, some of which are in between, so on and so forth. Right, so you can kind of see some of these other ones. Now, which projects would I specifically want to highlight, right? The ones that I have personally highlighted are some of my Global Hack Week streams, right? Projects that I worked on in specific live streams that I'm particularly proud of, whatever those happen to be, right? And then also, things that I've worked on in terms of personal projects or work projects even, that are able to stay on my main account. So in this case, I would say Cheerify is a great project. I spent a lot of Global Hack Week time on it, so I think that is a good one for me to highlight. And I don't even necessarily agree with the decisions that I made prior to this, right? The other one being, of course, now that I contributed to our GitHub README YouTube cards, right? As well as, my goodness, with syntax. I didn't contribute to summer 2026 internships. I know Simplified Jobs always recycles their repository. I contributed to that one 3 or 4 years ago at this point. But still, that's probably it is the largest, the most starred project that I have in here. But this also includes like projects that I worked on with friends and classmates and different things on here. So at this point, right, it is also worth it potentially considering not having any pinned projects, right? And just leaving this section blank so that you then go through and can see my popular repositories instead, right? So this pulls automatically what I consider to be my most popular repositories, which it goes through by number of stars. So these go through with some of the ones that I've done on previous. These are mostly Global Hack Week streams, right? So I did an Cheer 5 version in both iOS and Android, so you can see both of those on here, right? And then some of our other Global Hack Week ones. So keeping that in mind, I would probably go ahead and keep both the iOS and the Android version right on top next to each other. Now, if I save my pins, right, it's actually going to just show these two. So if you're looking to make this section a little bit shorter, right, I would always recommend customizing your pins here. I think this does a pretty solid job of conveying kind of the main things that I do. Maybe also in here add in, yeah, I think that honestly does it. And then we'll go from there. And then you can also check out my contribution graph. Like I was saying, contribution graphs are a way to track how many commits or how many things you had done in a given time period. So you can see the day that I joined GitHub. You can see my contributions that I was doing in 2019, right? I know exactly what I was doing in 2019. I was working on some of the apps and resources and everything. So this is a private repository on a different account. I won't go digging too much into it, right? Then 2020 is when I get to college, so you're starting to see like personal repository commit changes, as well as, like things like personal projects and things like that. Then 2021, right, is when we start picking up. You're starting to see more contributions as I'm working on like school org things, right, creating repositories and creating forks of sample internal assessments and whatever else. This is kind of my summer internship stint where I was doing some work with there. This is a portion of my research stint, right, in here. And then we also have in 2022, right, as we proceed into more in-depth and intense kind of work processes. And 2022 is kind of the time where I was doing the, I'd say 2022 was the time where I got the most involved in the hackathon and we can be outside of coaching. So you can kind of see there's specific, Saturdays where I've suddenly got a giant spike in however many things because I'm at a hackathon in a given weekend. Same down here. This is more for the Global Hack Week one. This might be my first Global Hack Week stream right here. As you know, you're seeing these sort of things, right, where I'm participating in hackathons and so seeing Saturday and Sunday commits. And then 2023, right, is where things really pick up. This is where you can tell that I'm like consistently participating, coding, right, doing things. And then you can see where I had a summer internship that didn't allow me to post code publicly, right? So then there's a big gap in between May and August, right? If anybody cares about this gap from the employer side, well, sorry, but it's just the way that it is, right? Then 2024, things mellow out a little bit again. At this point, I have a different full-time job, right? I teach, so my GitHub contributions are, a little bit fewer and far between. They tend to be limited to more so me creating Global Hack Week streams, right? And kind of having fun and messing around with those. Or, in this April, May thing, kind of finishing up my undergrad degree. And then we get into this year, right? Which is very much scattered contributions here and there, kind of making things as we go, creating new repositories, so on and so forth. But then again, we do kind of cool stuff as well. This is what we ended up doing yesterday. I just very quickly made Polish translations. So for anyone who's curious, right? I went ahead and added a Polish translation, right, for view counts, and then was authorized and deployed here, right? And so now my change into this open source project should actually be ready to proceed. For anyone who's curious, this is a lovely little repo from also the person who made the lovely repo for the typing SVG and the README streak stats, right? So they, like I mentioned, they have these two lovely pinned repositories, and then also a ton of different contributions. However, right, what made sense to me is that there was a need for translation, so I did it. There's a question in the chat: what's the project that you most enjoyed creating? This is such a hard question because it's been so long since I've done some of them. Cheerify, which is the project that I have listed on here as like that GitHub and that iOS and Android one, was really fun. I think that was kind of the time in Global Hack Week where I had I just come out of like doing both iOS development pretty heavily and from doing Android development. I just finished classes, and so I was really excited about like doing something pretty intense. And so we made up pretty much a full-fledged app, talk about like test flight and deployment steps or anything like that. And that one was really fun in that regard. So I really appreciated that one. And I thought that one was really cool. The Android version is nowhere near as polished as the iOS one, and I think that goes with my personal experience too. Honestly, I think just like any project where I've got to have a decent amount of impact has been really fun. So that Cheerify one was cool because like I mentioned, I got to do a lot of skills and learning, but it never actually went anywhere. There's a lot of projects on here, or there's a lot of projects that aren't on here, as in are not on my personal GitHub, that were still fun and super rewarding. It's also like a hackathon project that I did with my friends at a random university hackathon that I really like super thoroughly enjoyed. And I think that was a different cool one. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the check-in banner here. I've just also realized I've had the getting started soon taking across the screen this whole time. So I'm going to change that to check-in, moving across the whole screen, and tell you that we've gotten started for 25 minutes now. But let's think about what else we could go ahead and do. I think, let me go to profile. We'll go ahead and swap into my little sample account. And you can kind of see now that I've changed to a different account, the number of repositories that I have went from 85 to 69. Right, that's because not every repository that I have in here is actually public. And so I'm actually going to swap back real quick because I definitely do not need this repository. We're going to do some actual cleanup today. I think that'll be also a useful lesson for everybody. And we'll go ahead and walk through, kind of the purpose behind it. Well, not seeing a question in the chat that I'm happy to help answer. Slightly off topic, could you give some quick tips on securing an internship? Okay, so I will preface this by saying that I, outside of my job as a coach and outside of the things I do for MLH, I no longer am searching for an internship. I now work in education, so I'm not well versed in the current tech employee landscape. I know it's a hard time for entry level, and I fully acknowledge that. However, I can say what worked for me, and that was 2 years ago. Oh my God, it's almost 3 years ago. Crazy. So things like that that I think are particularly difficult to deal with, so on and so forth. Going back to what I was gonna say. I love this README template, by the way. I'm gonna take a quick pause. This is probably my favorite README template. I'm gonna link to the main version of it so that you can take a look at it. However, if you take a look here, this is a great README template that shows you how to build out a project. a roadmap, so on and so forth, right? And I modified a version of it for myself to get started with, right? Where I don't use things like, contacts, project links, acknowledgements, and then so on and so forth, right? This is still a much fuller version. You can also, these shields, right, go for a specific repo versus I could use a different number in here. But this is an awesome sort of resource, if you will. I'm gonna also sync it to fork, because why not? That's such a cool feature. All right, back to what I was saying. What really helped me in my internship search was honestly the first one. Once you have one experience under your belt, it is so much easier to get others. So for that very first internship, I would recommend start early and start local. I interned at a construction company doing software for them. It was not at all what I expected to be doing, but I had a great time with it either way. My dog is snoring. Apologies, it's very precious. Anyway, can you tell my brain's going at a mile a minute today? Anyway, I think that was really helpful. So the main piece of advice that I have there is just kind of start small. Any experience on your resume is good experience in that regard. However, also know your worth. Only pick up things that are relevant. Make sure that you are getting compensated for your time and your effort and your energy, right? Don't take things that are unpaid, unless you absolutely cannot avoid it, so on and so forth. And generally, I would always recommend against it. But you don't have to always set your sight on like a traditional internship program as your first opportunity. It's very cool in here. The second thing I would bring up in that regard is then for searching for kind of the next thing, is I went with programs that my friends had been a part of, specifically like my older upperclassmates, my mentors. And they had A, great things to say about them, but B, also were able to give me appropriate and correct recommendations. And they, as upperclassmen, were then able to, first of all, like put in a referral or some other recommendation to me, but B, also were able to, like provide their help and then mentorship and expertise and advice and like how to succeed, how to, make your mark, specifics of the company. And I did that my second year with a little finance, well, not with a little, but with a finance company that actually I think was overall my best internship experience, and I thoroughly really did enjoy it. Then my third one was just honestly like going to and then trying to get more interview and internship opportunities, and like really leaning into making those experiences high quality. So I did a lot of work with, if you're familiar, which some of you are probably are. I was very heavily involved in like Bryce Hopper. At first I went and then I helped organize a cohort of women that ended up going from my university. So like really leaning into those types of opportunities. Also, if you, once again, go digging through my GitHub profile, you'll find it. But I took advantage of like career-based and like recruiting-based hackathon opportunities too. Really leaned into like what I consider to be my strengths, and then went in from there. That's a super, super long answer to that question, but I think depending on where you are in your career, like in your internship search, whether it's your first year or you're closer to graduating, the answers will differ. So hopefully that answers it a little bit at least. And thank you, Lily. That's very sweet to hear. I do want to go ahead and go through a little bit of these. I need to get coffee or something. All right, let's see here. Yeah. Yeah. GitHub README YouTube cards. This was a great stream. This idea MVP stream. It was very fun. And then Pet Plus, Nudge to Scout. Yeah. I'm gonna have like 4 of these projects. I'm deleting this one. Alright, I'm glad it did help then. A lot of these, like I mentioned, some of these are private, right? And honestly, like unnecessary to keep because I really don't need every single remnant of interview prep from when I had it. And there we go. Go ahead and delete a bunch of these. He's so sleepy. Me too, buddy. Me too. All right. These are forks. All the websites. It's the list of every single possible world award. The files needed for my first GHW workshop. Oh. Which is old projects. English coach training. Yeah, super old stuff here. This is called the GitHub learning project. So on and so forth. All right. Let's see here. So I think this did a solid job of cleaning up the repos that like absolutely needed to go. And then your contribution graph, like I mentioned. What I think we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into that repository that I was talking about earlier. Or not earlier. We're gonna jump into this account and we're gonna talk through some of the other things that we can do here and how to kind of customize a Blink repository. I need to figure out what's going on with my heat or AC or whatever because I am freezing cold in here. So I actually probably need to take a super quick break, refill my water bottle, checking out my little sleepy puppy, my little sleepy dog, so on and so forth. It's gonna be a quick break, probably like 5 minutes or so. Not water break. But, I'll be back in just a few short minutes, and I will see you all there. Oh, I'm muted again. There we go. We're back. Cool. So as we go ahead and get started here, I think what would really be helpful, right, in terms of building out a GitHub profile here, right, is maybe going through a sample repository contribution, right? And so what makes a good repository for us to highlight right now, right? The only thing that we have is this README, right? And that's the only thing that we can highlight in our popular repositories tab 2, which obviously is a little unfortunate. So keeping that in mind, I think the first way to really make our GitHub shine is to create a project. Now, obviously, you shouldn't just create projects for the purposes of displaying them on your GitHub. And ideally, if you have a GitHub account, you already have a project that is worth displaying. Here are the kind of recommendations I have for projects to display. Chances are there are assignments or something, right, like projects that you've worked on, like classwork, whatever else that you can add and display. Now, whether you'll be able to do that consistently, right, whether you'll be able to keep that and whether you'll be able to make them public, it kind of depends on your university's policies or on your school's policies. But those are a good place to start if you have them, especially as they begin getting longer and kind of more complex. I'm going to take off this quick break banner because we don't need it anymore. And as always, please also make sure that you'll ask any of your questions in the chat. So I would say that's a good place to start. The other option is to go ahead and add in any sort of personal projects or things that you might have been working on in that regard. Third option is to, add in forks and contribute to any specific resources from there, right? So in the kind of spirit of open source project, right, let's go ahead and let's look for a good open source project for us to contribute to. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen here really quickly. I'm gonna go to Hacktoberfest. Cool. So Hacktoberfest, right, is a month-long celebration of open things open source, right? You can go ahead and register. I'm gonna authorize with GitHub here. I am gonna use my main GitHub here just for the purposes of this activity. And also because Hacktoberfest is cool. And I feel like it'll be fun to contribute. So we're gonna initiate here. Cool. I'd say I'm more newbie than familiar. If you haven't yet gotten the chance to do so, I would also recommend, this is a great idea to participate. So let's take a look at some participation rules here. Sorry. I woke my dog up again. Oh, sorry, buddy. It's okay. You get to sleep again soon. Nice. There's a list of participating open source projects, right? So for anybody who's interested, this is a series of participating open source projects here in Hacktoberfest. So if you're looking for things to do to kind of up your GitHub game, this might be a helpful one. Take a look here. Yeah, my dog is a little bit, he's a little bit skittish. I mean, he just went right back to sleep, and completely is passed out now. He's used to me not being home at this time, because it's usually a time I'd be like at work, but I have this week off. So I think he's just used to me not being here and him being able to sleep as loud as he wants and someone disturbing him. Can you give a rundown of how this is different from a regular hackathon? Absolutely. So Hacktoberfest is cool because it is month long, right? And it is specifically focused on contributing to open source, right? So the main idea behind it, it encourages people to contribute to open source throughout October, right? That's where the Hacktoberfest comes from, right? It's October plus Oktoberfest plus hackathon, right? So open source projects are projects built and maintained by passionate people who then, made their code available to the public. Hacktoberfest is all about giving back to those projects, right? So sharpening skills and celebrating all of the things that are open source, specifically the people that make open source so special. And then the main idea is to get as many people as possible involved in open source, right? And so there are various writing challenges, right? Social media, Hacktoberfest shares, different partners that the community obviously works with, right? There's a participation award, etc. But also generally just like lots of opportunities to get involved. The main thing that's the difference is that you are working on existing projects, right? And so this list of Hacktoberfest GitHub projects includes every single project, right, that has the ability to kind of work through anything, right? So this is, for example, Docusaurus, right? Which is easy to maintain open source documentation websites, right? Talks about how to build websites built on your content, for example, right? Talks through a lot of different things and resources, etc. Yeah. Apologies. So sleep. And some of these are, run by large scale companies, right? Like this one's run by Meta, formerly known as Facebook, right? And some of them are run by, individuals. So. And so, yeah, a lot of these repositories will then have, things like good first issue or good intro project, whatever else. So there's a lot of good options for things that you can complete. And then, of course, like I mentioned, right? So for the topics, that's what you're seeing there. So these are existing projects and you're contributing. It's kind of the main difference. with my apartment. Then this is a pin. All right, so what I've been doing so far, right, is kind of taking a look at this lovely little, oh God, I wrap my arms in a blanket because it's cold. It's taking a look at this lovely little free programming books resource, right? And so I've taken a look. Oh, they closed it. Boo. That's pretty sad. That's actually really sad. PRs are always welcome, but please follow instructions. Oh. Let me check, actually, as we go back to my Hacktoberfest account. We're going to start hacking. Did it? Yeah, I've registered. This is true. Yeah, okay, so it did view this one, right? Added it to Hacktoberfest here. Cool, so it did consider my first change, and then once it gets accepted, and then we'll go from there. Oh. This is how to write a cool commit message, and yeah, this is about GitLab, how open source contributors can boost your career. That is cool. Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm so intrigued by these. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just got a message about. Mm-hmm. Alrighty, amazing, cool. That's unrelated to this here. Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice. Mm-hmm. This is a very cool quote. GitHub is a social network where social capital created by commencing contributions to a global conversation, whatever technology you're working is yours. Not tied to the company you happen to be working at. Thank you for the lesson. What is required to get swag? So the best way to get swag for GHW, and I'm going to go ahead and actually share my screen here on this part, is if you go to the swag tab, right? You must check into the Global Hack Week event, which involves joining the MLH community Discord server, submitting an address at MLH link address, and completing all of the MLH registration challenges. To earn the bonus swag, you will have to attend at least 5 live sessions at Global Hack Week. So I just go to ghw.mlh.io/swag, and there you will be able to see more details in terms of how to participate, how to join it, things like that. So hopefully that answers your question. Mm-hmm. Of course. A software reality TV show. This is so interesting. That's very old, but okay. Mhm. Oh, hey, Kari, unrelated, but does API go over deploying APIs? I'm personally struggling with this particular issue. Not unrelated at all. I'm super happy to answer this. So if you take a look at Global Hack Week APIs, the main idea is that we as streamers or coaches at MLH get to decide what we want to talk about. So if you're interested in seeing a live stream that goes over deploying APIs, definitely leave that as feedback in the feedback link when I post it in a little bit of time. That way you'll we'll hopefully be able to consider it. I'll keep it in mind when I'm planning my streams for November too. Generally speaking. But the official answer I can give you right now is I don't know, because it'll depend on what the coaches are planning to do. Who are planning to, stream at Global Hack Week, November, or Global Hack Week APIs kind of have in mind. So yes, hopefully. But I don't necessarily have control over everybody else. I think it'd be a really fun stream to kind of go over how to deploy an API. If you have a more specific question, or you want me to try to point you towards more specific resources, also do let me know though. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna really quickly fix my blanket here, and then there we go. That's a little better. Let's see here. fallen down a rabbit hole of reading about intellectual property and engineering, which is very fun, though. Mm-hmm. 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 It's cool. Mm-hmm. It's a season of dogs. Oh, that was so unfortunate. I can't believe they shut that down. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a good one. How to write a commit message. Nice. Oh, this is cool too. This is cool. That is really cool, actually. But yeah, we have our first open source contribution in Hacktoberfest, which is fun. I think I would love to see if we can find other projects maybe participate in. And then go from there. I might also need to run to the bathroom, but yep, I'll be back. There you go. I'm back. Cool. I want to find a new open source project to contribute to. I think that'd be fun. And I think it shows off in a cool way, like some of the things that you can add to your GitHub. Right. Like powerful open source project contributions. Right. So if you go into your pins here, right, you can add in some of the things that you've worked on. Yeah. So I think that'd be really cool. Let's see, got this quick for a minute because we don't need it anymore. Go ahead and do ask questions in the chat. Oh, that's cool. Super tiny icons. This is cool. That's cool. It's a cool repo too. Oh, nice. This is pretty. I like pink. Nice. Mm. Nice. This is cool. Nice. Oh, this is cool. Mm. Bunch of really cool resources here. Mm-hmm. Hmm. This is cool. Let's see if we can ask. Let's see what we can find here. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Let's see if there's anything else that we want to do at this point. I mean, I think considering this, right, we're going over the things that we looked at with I'm not seeing anything that's super helpful or that's super doable in 20 minutes. I think it may be time to proceed to move towards ending it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thank you all very much for coming. At this point, what I'm also going to do is link you all to the Global Hack Week feedback link, which is right below me. So please make sure you give us some lovely stream feedback. Like we mentioned earlier, we had some questions about, things you might want to see at API week or things that you might want to see from me going forward. Please make sure you give me that feedback. It's always appreciated. I wasn't feeling, I think, 100% during stream today, so I don't think I did as great of a job as I honestly wish I could have. But generally, I really appreciate those of you who came to join us, and let's talk about what's coming up in the schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again real quick. So for those of you who are not aware, I'm going to go ahead and view the Global Hack Week schedule at ghw.mlh.io/schedule. And in here, you'll see the following things, right? We're currently on day 4, or we're at the end of day 3 and the last stream of day 3, and then we'll be on day 4 here, right? So we've got today in Global Hack Week day 4, which is an hour early today, right? So it's going to be right in about 18 minutes. And then we have a really cool stream with Swift and the Solana Foundation, Coliseum and Cargo Bill, MongoDB Vector Search, hands-on with MPC servers part 3, robotic manipulation with PyBullet, learning about open source part 1 and part 2, Typeracer, and building an open source agent using LangChain. Honestly, super cool lineup over the next few days, right? Nature of code. Nice. That's cool. I love looking at all the cool streams that all the other coaches have planned. It always makes me excited to see what all of you are doing, and just has me look forward to it. But definitely make sure you tune in to day 4. It's going to be Cecilia. It's going to be fun. And then that stream at noon honestly sounds super exciting. I think I'm going to try and join in as well. So yeah, on this note, I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for joining me. I really appreciate all the time that you gave me of your morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. This is going to be my last stream in October, but I hope to see you at Global Hack Week APIs in November. And I look forward to seeing all the cool things that you all have done with open source and MLH Discord. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll pop in another OSS contribution or 2 on my GitHub in the last day or week or until Hacktoberfest ends. And that'll be it. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.